Well, hello and welcome back to a brand new Yellow Pine video. Now guys, it's been a little while since I recorded my last video, and coming back to this map just amazes me when I just look around and realize how much we have progressed over these episodes. That being said, there is one issue that we are still struggling with massively, and that's in our industrial area. Just take a look at this, guys. So many of these buildings are complaining of a lack of labor, and that basically means we need to start finding more employees. I suppose we could do that by improving our transport networks kind of out of the city. However, I want this to be organic. I want this, I want our people within the city to actually be working in the city. So there's only one solution to that, and that is to build more residential areas. Now, if we zoom out, we're going to completely ignore this issue over here of high resource costs because there's not much we can do right now for that. But if we just focus on our lack of labor, where can we actually build residential plots? Well, we could go up into the mountains here. However, from my perspective, that would not be a wise idea, purely because terraforming is just going to be a nightmare. We're going to have all sorts of bugs and clipping happening, and so that basically rules out these kind of mountains up here. We do have this lovely valley here that we could progress from our crater city. If you guys remember from a previous video, we could start to build around here. However, I have another thought. And no, it's not this area here, although that would kind of make sense, I suppose, because we do have loads of residential here. We've got some really affordable housing here. This is not very nice, guys. A lot of this is still being constructed. It's right by a railway line. There's not really much of a road connection, just this one road leading to, well, a very convoluted way to get to everywhere else. So let's look elsewhere. We're not going to build up on this slope, this mountain here. This would be really cool to I don't know, maybe to create a ski slope or something. That would be amazing. So I'm going to reserve that for maybe a ski slope, maybe some little alpine villages. I'm not too sure, but we are not going to be using that for our residential today. Instead, I took a look over here, right? We've got these two beautiful rivers, I suppose starting in these respective corners. They come and merge here and then progress to join our main river here. I was thinking to myself, how beautiful would it be to have maybe one big town, a couple of small little villages around that center themselves around these rivers? I think that would be so nice. And so that is exactly what we're going to do today, guys. We're going to start developing a residential area or hopefully satisfy all of our labor demands over here, making the most of the beautiful natural terrain and valleys that we have got in this area. Now, first things first, road connections. How on earth are we going to actually access this place? Well, luckily for us, we've got a highway literally down here. The highway doesn't seem to be too busy right now. I mean, there are some crazy bends and hills happening here. I mean, just take a look at this. I don't actually think a highway could exist like this because cars would just bomb it down this hill over here. But we're going to ignore that for now. And we're going to create ourselves a little junction here that's going to send traffic directly through to our residential areas. Now, to be honest with you guys, I think a trumpet roundabout will be able to do the job, and it actually fits in quite nicely here with our little agricultural zone. So we're just going to stick it down like this. We're going to have to delete a few roads to redirect them to actually kind of access this junction. And you know what? I mean, the roads are very squiggly, but it kind of does the job. I'm pretty happy with this. Obviously, we're gonna have to buy some tiles, and just looking at how much money we have, we're gonna be able to get maybe one tile, two. We can't even get 2 tiles. Okay, we're definitely going to have to borrow a fair bit of money. Let's take out a loan of 3 million. That should do the job for the time being. And I've just realized something, guys. If we start to buy tiles, right, before you know it, we have used up all 5 of our permits that we have right now. So I suppose what we're going to do is we're going to start a bit of a residential area here, and we'll hopefully be able to progress to these rivers very soon. So this should do the job for us for the time being. Now, just like our agricultural area here, I think we should replicate something just as a bit of a buffer along our highway here. So when people actually eventually move into this area, they are not going to be completely deafened by the highway. And so we're actually just going to bring out a few grids like this, and we'll do a few more here as well. It actually works out okay because we've got quite a bit of fertile land here. And so that means we can just chuck in as many vegetable farms as we want in this area. We'll diversify a little bit so we don't completely drain the soil resources by planting only one kind of crop. Maybe we'll get ourselves some textile farming as well, because I don't actually think we've grown much of that in this city so far. And this works out perfectly because all of our non-fertile land in this area actually have trees, so we can set up a little forestry industry. Okay, I like the look of this so far, guys. We'll get onto the other side a little bit later on, but I just want to start building. So we are going to get ourselves a huge, beautiful, chunky 6-lane road that we're going to stick a very large roundabout onto. And then directly from our highway, we are going to get ourselves some connections onto this roundabout. Very beautifully done. And then coming off either direction, we're going to have ourselves a couple of roads just leading to our agricultural areas here. And I think that is going to be pretty good for us for the time being. Now, this 6-lane road, I want to be the main artery leading into this residential area here. So I don't see why we can't have this road kind of, I suppose, follow the river line a little bit, just like this. Because what I envision now is I want along the river there to be maybe residential, but mostly commercial, just like on this side of the river. If you guys remember from a few episodes ago, we're still waiting for loads of stuff to spawn in, but right along our river here, we created ourselves a beautiful little pedestrian cycle pathway alongside some mixed housing here where you've got both residential and commercial, because I just thought it would be an amazing thing to have a few small little restaurants along the river here, and I think it would be really nice to have it on the other side of the river as well. And so I think it kind of makes sense that we have our main road skirting the river that's going to have our commercial on. Maybe this area here we could have a bit of commercial as well, whilst on this side we have the majority of our residential. Now, starting to consider a bit of lore, what I'm thinking, right, is maybe further down here on the left and right, we have ourselves our older settlements, slightly more organic growth patterns, with roads going in all sorts of crazy directions, right? Over here, though, I think it would be better if we kind of considered this to be a new development. We've got loads of space here, it's nice and flat, and although I don't build grids often, I think this would be a really good opportunity to experiment with grids, just a little bit maybe. And so what I'm going to do, guys, is actually get myself some pedestrian streets. I'm going to imagine this plot here was recently developed, maybe in the last 10 or 15 years, and they thought we're going to build ourselves a beautiful pedestrian-centered residential area. Just across the main road, you've got a beautiful river with some lovely cafes and shops before you reach the historical center down there. And so I'm actually going to draw a line all the way up here, and we're going to start developing some grids. We're going to make it a little bit more interesting by kind of going with the contours of our terrain here. And so we're going to have a few kind of crazy and wacky grids around the place. Once again, we don't want it to be like, you know, too calculated and methodical. Like, although this might have been an urban development, things still grow organically. And you know what, for the time being, guys, I think this will do the job. Mind you, a few pavement paths never harmed anyone. And then I guess we're going to have to decide how this is actually going to be connected because, you know, with grid systems, traffic has the potential to become a nightmare pretty quickly. And so how about we have ourselves a few medium roundabouts like this? And then from here, we just have a few connection points, kind of randomly placed, I suppose, but pretty evenly distributed at the same time. I see this block up here definitely being space well spent for an elementary school. Mind you, the terraforming's a little bit crazy. I mean, hopefully there aren't going to be any landslides, but I'm going to stick with that for the time being. It's just, I don't know, a little bit crazy, I guess. And how about we stick our high school on the corner here? I try to smooth out the terrain a little bit here. I think it's slightly better than what it was before. Healthcare is obviously super important, so let's put that pretty central. And I think a firehouse would actually fit pretty nicely directly on this main road, so it has the ability to reach any agricultural fires in this area if need be. We're going to save a police station for our commercial area here, but whilst we're at it, if we take a little look at our groundwater deposits, we have a little bit here, so I don't see why we can't get ourselves a few water towers here. We're not going to make them too big, they're not going to be massive eyesores for our community right now. We're just going to connect it up just like this. Regarding energy for this area, we could, I suppose, build ourselves a power station. However, considering we've got ourselves these two massive, absolutely immense solar power plants right here, I think a few electric cables underground will do the job for us. And hopefully all of these complaints will go just like that. For this area here, considering it's going to be like new build developments, I don't see why we can't start dabbling in a little bit with some medium density housing. And so what I envision is along these roads here, we're going to go for row homes. And then we're going to have some central medium density housing here. You know, having some affordable housing is extremely important as well. So why don't we go for some low rent housing in this block here, maybe this block too, and we'll bring it down along here also. We'll have ourselves a slight graduation in density here, so we're going to stick with medium density here. However, we're then going to go for some low density housing in this area here that should spawn in like wildfire which is wonderful. Maybe we can stretch out to this area as well. And this stuff is spawning in like crazy. And then we're going to get some more low density housing right here. We'll do the exact same here. And wow, you can definitely tell, guys, that low density residential demand was most definitely very, very high. In this little area here where we've got some pedestrian paths, I'm actually going to put in a very small amount of commercial, just so people have, you know, like their local corner shops. Knowing this game, it will probably be petrol stations that zone in here, but I think that should do the job. And in time, we'll get ourselves some medium and, well, high density, a little bit of high density, affordable housing starting to spawn there as well. Whilst things start to spawn in here, I think we should focus on our little commercial area that we're trying to develop along here now. Now, since starting this game, I have absolutely fallen in love with quays. They just add so much realism to rivers that would otherwise be left completely abandoned. And so I think it's a great thing that we can just put them down like this. We can have ourselves a pedestrian street that lines along here as well, which we can just completely line with some EU mixed housing, where we're going to have some residential and commercial spawn in here, facing eventually onto this side of the shore when all of our residential commercial combined housing will also spawn in. And I think that would be a really beautiful view, actually. And you know what? I don't see why we can't have ourselves a few bridges here that connect both sides of our river, because if that bridge did not exist, people living here or residing here, shopping here, whatever it may be, if they wanted to come over to this side of the shore, they would have to drive all the way down and... Oh, nice, guys. We're a grand city. Fantastic. And we have been able to get ourselves some more of these precious points here to actually start expanding further towards our rivers. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so if you were actually living here or shopping here, you'd have to travel all the way down here, somehow connect onto the highway, come along the highway all the way back up again. So I think it makes a lot of sense that we have a pedestrian bridge here, and it'll be interesting to see like how many people actually use it in time. Now we're going to develop a little bit of a commercial area here for when commercial demand actually starts creeping up. I'm going to be careful not to spawn too much, because obviously the whole point in developing this area is to actually fill jobs over here. So we'll do our best to add a bit of commercial in so people actually have like a shopping area to enjoy, but at the same time we're not going to overly saturate it. And I think that should do the job for the time being. In this corner here, considering when you're looking at this division line of this massive road, you've got residential on the right, commercial on the left, I think we should add some activities as well, so that when people go shopping, they go to restaurants or whatever, they can also utilize this space. Maybe for having some tennis games. Can never forget basketball. Maybe we have ourselves a little park cafe as well. That would be quite nice. And so as we've upgraded to Grand City, we can actually start to unlock even more tiles now, which is amazing. We're going to burn through our cash like crazy to unlock all of this. And let's start thinking about this now. What can we actually create here? Well, we've got ourselves a nice little bit of plain land here. So how about we go for a small historical square? And you know what, guys? I think this square actually looks quite pretty. However, a central square is not going to ever be anything without commercial. So we're going to get some mixed housing around here so that we actually have ourselves some restaurants and some cafes starting to spawn in. How about we then have a bigger square around here with some connecting roads just like this, where we can chuck in a little bit of commercial wherever we've got space, before the roads just start to go in every last direction. Maybe we could have one dirt path that comes right down to the water here, maybe giving people a spot to fish. A small elementary school will not stand out in this little corner here. And so how about we start spawning our residential in? And I think this is going to become quite a cute little community, you know, guys. Maybe our main road can wind just around this forest, avoiding all of those beautiful trees before then coming down here. And maybe this is where our next community is. What if we just have ourselves this great straight road here that then eventually takes us to our main road? And just coming off of this main road, we've got another small community. And maybe this community could have a high school with a medical clinic on the corner along our main road. And what if we've got low density commercial all along here? And then the further in you go, the residential starts to creep in. And then with this big 6-lane road that comes from our main highway there, what we can actually do is bring it directly to this street over here. Let's chuck in a roundabout. And then also at this junction, we're going to have ourselves a bridge. And from this bridge, we're going to have ourselves this great big road that comes through here. And something dawned on me, guys, because this is actually so much space, and this is meant to be quite a historical area, what if we build upon that with a little story? And we actually say that a college, one of the oldest colleges on our map, was born here. And maybe after the college was created, loads and loads of people started to flood into the area, which would then justify grid-based housing to cater for the student population. And it seems like the students most definitely need this accommodation. I think some waterfront housing would be really nice along the river here, actually. And considering we've got a college there with loads of students, how about we go for a huge soccer field, or as we say, a football, at the entrance to this whole area. It's crazy to see just like a whole line of cranes as things start to get built in. But I think this is going to work out pretty well. And well, this is something I completely forgot about. So why don't we add in a small cemetery here? Because small little settlements usually actually have cemeteries, don't they? Because it would have been built around an old church and obviously a cemetery because of that. So why don't we add one over here as well? And in this zone here, we could probably add a couple. Maybe one at the top here and maybe one by the college. Maybe the college like had some religious connotations at some point. Maybe it was once a church and then eventually became a college with a cemetery next door. Up on this cliff face, I've also created a little bit more residential area that we can spawn in. Perhaps right on the cliff face, we can have ourselves a high school that will make everyone along here very happy. And it seems like people are happy because we are having a lot of stuff spawn in right now. Oh no, we've got a fire here. And it seems like our building just burnt down. I'm not surprised because our fire, look at our fire engine here. Our fire station is just so far away. It took, just way too long for us to actually have a good enough response. So maybe, considering we've got quite a bit of urbanization happening here, why don't we stick a fire station right next to our soccer football field right along here? Maybe that will help for future fire prevention. I'm sure this fire engine here is probably feeling very, very disheartened that they weren't able to save that house in time. And I'll tell you something, guys, sometimes it's just really therapeutic just to watch these vehicles drive around. It actually adds a level of realism to the game that you don't normally see. I mean, just take a look at this. If you kind of obviously remove all the complaints in the background, it didn't even dawn on me how terrained this whole area is, because from a bird's eye perspective, you think, okay, I'm building here, but just take a look at this. We're on like a pretty big slope here that allows for a beautiful view of the river down in the distance. So yeah, I guess that's just something to consider. Another way of playing the game. A step up from this would be to actually have the ability to drive vehicles around. That would be truly amazing. To finish off this video, guys, we're just going to take a little look at the happiness of our people here. It seems like they're overall pretty happy. However, there is one key issue, and that is high crime risk. If we take a little look at where our police stations are based, we've got a decent number down here, I suppose, but up here we have got nothing. And we are seeing police cars come up here all the way from nearly our city center down here, just to resolve crimes here. So what I think we should do just to finish off this episode is to get ourselves some police stations. Let's get one directly opposite our fire station and football field here, a small police station on this corner here along our huge 6-lane road leading to our residential areas that we've developed today. And I hope in time those additional police stations will make our people a little bit happier. Unreliable mail service, I'm just going to chuck a load of post boxes off screen because that is not the most exciting use of my time and of your viewing time, most importantly. But I think we've made some decent progress. I mean, along this river here, we've got ourselves some really, really beautiful and nice residential areas starting to spawn in. This river is starting to be developed, but we will continue that next episode and we will start to plan out even more residential areas in the following episodes. This area right here, guys, I really want to start filling, maybe just with a massive grid system. I know it's not the most exciting thing, but to be honest with you, over the next few episodes, I'm wanting to bring Yellow Pine to a close because I have got 2 additional amazing ideas that I want to start from scratch. And I think over the past few months, I have learned so much about this game, so much about YouTube, that I just want to have a blank slate. We have started to create, and we have created, an amazing map here that we are going to finish off over the next few episodes. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And in the long run, make sure you stay tuned for the next couple of series that I'm going to get started with. Thank you so very much, as always, for following me on this amazing journey as we expand and grow Yellow Pine. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more City Skylines 2 content, then make sure you subscribe so you never miss out on a new video. And make sure you also hit the like button if you did really enjoy this video, because it makes a world of difference to my channel and I'll be forever thankful. Thank you so very much once again for watching, and I will see you guys all very, very soon.